Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you all for being here with us today. And especially thank you to the caregivers and their veteran spouses who are able to join us today. You know, Senator Dole, I want to say thank you for coming to see me earlier this year in order to tell me about the support that caregivers provide every day to wounded or ill veterans and service members. Your foundation conducts a fellows program in which caregivers are selected to advocate for caregivers and ensure that they have the resources that they need. And one of those caregivers, Emery Papalowski, is sitting right here in the front row. She is a former fellow and is from Massachusetts. And not only does she care for her husband, Charlie, who served in the Army, she actually helps manage the Caregiver Fellows Program, and she's here today. And I just want to say a very public thank you to Emery. Thank you for being here, Emery. You know, I'm reminded, though, by Emery's being here that caregivers often need additional support for traveling to various appointments, child care services, mental health counseling, and other resources. And current law authorizes the VA to directly provide a stipend and other support services to caregivers of injured veterans from the wars of Iraq and Afghanistan, but does not authorize the agency to provide this direct additional support to caregivers of veterans from pre-9/11 wars. This seems wrong, particularly because elderly veterans are a particularly vulnerable group. Now, Senator Dole, I know that you addressed this in your testimony, but this is really important, so I want to come back and underline here. When it comes to providing additional support services directly to caregivers, what are the consequences of classifying caregivers of veterans from post-9/11 wars separately from caregivers of veterans of earlier wars?
It's a very unfair situation. We need the legislation we're focused on today so that as soon as possible we can begin to meet the very unique needs of the pre-9/11 service members and their caregivers. And it's so frustrating to me because these caregivers pre-9/11 have been providing services for years with no acknowledgement, without anyone really acknowledging the great work and services that they're providing, and without the resources to be able to provide some respite care for them, an opportunity to have a stipend, which can be very helpful to them. They deserve to have the same benefits that post-9/11 do when they're dealing with the most serious injuries, illnesses, and wounds. Not only those war-related wounds, but how they've been compounded by the aging process, which means that now you have the advent of things like Parkinson's and ALS and some cancers, plus just all the things that happen as you get older. You're less mobile and you have more pain, and they're dealing with all of this without the support that they absolutely deserve. So I'm hoping that this legislation really could be passed quickly before the end of the year so that we could begin to really focus on the kinds of services that they need. The faster it's passed, the quicker this community can begin to provide services addressed to those particular individuals.
Well, I know that Chairwoman Collins and Senator Murray have introduced a bill on this, and I just want to say I'm with you. I really hope this goes forward and goes forward as soon as possible. I also want to ask another question. I know that some caregivers of elderly veterans requiring long-term in-home personal care can qualify for VA's aid and attendance benefit, but I also know that some scam artists have targeted veterans by charging them fees or obtaining this benefit, even though the application is free. And Senator Rubio and I also have a bill that would direct the VA to work with other federal agencies to track down on these, to crack down on these scams, because I think it's just really important here. If I can, I want to hit one more point, and then if the chair will indulge me for just a minute here. I come from a military family. All three of my brothers served, but that's not as common as it used to be. America has the world's best fighting force, but many people in our country no longer have a personal connection to our military. And as a result, they often don't know about the sacrifices of either the service member or the sacrifices of their caregivers. Senator Dole, do you think that the sense of isolation felt by some military and veteran caregivers is a reflection of a broader divide between ordinary citizens and our military? And do you just have a few thoughts you might give us? I'm really out of time here, but a few thoughts you might give us about how we help heal that divide?
Yes, I think that the isolation you're right on point on this, no question about it. You know, when you realize that less than 1% are serving today, defending our freedom and our security, most Americans have no idea what's going on in military homes today. And it's amazing, we've done an outreach to a number of organizations as we put together our national coalition. And whether we're talking with people in government or nonprofit organizations, or we're talking with business leaders, maybe it's the faith community, often I hear, I had no idea. What can we do to help? And there's been such an outpouring from this whole group that we've got this wonderful coalition, but there's no question that people just don't, they don't know what's happening in the home. So how are we going to address that? Well, one of the major goals of my foundation is raising awareness. And thanks to Ryan, he's helping us to raise awareness with the public service announcements, with the events that he attends, and working with our caregiver fellows and caregivers across America, meeting with them. And certainly the Hidden Heroes campaign, the Hidden Heroes cities, all of that is designed to raise awareness, to be able to help people to understand we need their support across the country. Hidden Heroes Cities is an example of driving down to the local level the concern for finding and identifying caregivers. And we have a lot of mayors and their teams working across America to raise awareness, to find the caregivers and lead them to the kind of support that we can give them.
Well, thank you again. Thank you for all you're both doing. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.